Hey, thanks for choosing Destination Australia. We realise you had a choice this afternoon, but we do appreciate your business and hope you enjoy the journey. Not long after I started at Tourism Australia, I was at one of the many social business functions that the travel industry is renowned for. And I got talking to a woman at this function and she said to me, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm the marketing manager at Tourism Australia for New Zealand." She was like, she wasn't from the travel industry, and she was like, "How does that work?" And I said, "Well, we market Australia to Kiwis." She was like, "Whoa, you've got a pretty easy job. A lot of people in New Zealand go to Australia, surely." And I said, "Yeah, that's true. That's why I spend a lot of time at these functions." But she then went on to say, "Well, you must have been to a lot of really great places in Australia." And at the time, I'd really not been to that many places in Australia. And I said, "Well, to tell you the truth, I came to this job as a typical Kiwi. And I've been to Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, the Gold Coast, and Noosa, and that's actually about it." She was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, but you know what's interesting?" I said to her. Since I've been at Tourism Australia, I've been exposed to a lot of really incredible experiences that Australia has to offer. And now when I think about travelling, I don't think about going to Southeast Asia or America or Europe like I used to. I think about swimming with the whale sharks in Western Australia, and I think about sailing in the Whitsundays, and I think about going to Tasmania and going walking on Moruya Island, and I think about the amazing food and wine in Victoria and South Australia. And I said to her, and that's the job that we have to do in New Zealand, is we have to get people to think about Australia differently. We have to get Kiwis to think about Australia as not just those standard gateways, not just the places that they're used to going, but we have to get them beyond those gateways, and we have to get them to experience more of what Australia has to offer. And so that's what the campaign I'm going to go through today was all about. And hopefully you'll see how we did that quite successfully. But before we do that, can I just get a show of hands of people who have actually travelled to Australia? So that's pretty much everyone, I think. Just leave your hand up for a minute and just, if you've been more than once, keep your hand up. So if you've been only once, put it down. Okay, and if you've been to anywhere that isn't Perth, Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane, keep your hand up. So everyone else put their hand down. Okay, so you're actually overrepresentative because in New Zealand we have 1.2 million visits by Kiwis to Australia every year. We have 93% repeat visitors. So most of the people who go to Australia are repeat visitors. So they know Australia well, but they know it from their kind of common perception of where they go. But only 48% of those people disperse, and we need to get more people doing that. So all of the people who kept their hands up to the end, we need more people like you. So feel free to talk to the neighbour who didn't have their hand up and tell them how great it was. So this is a case study. So I thought I'd kind of take you through a sort of classic case study outline. Who's our target audience? Who are we talking to? What's the insight into that audience? What's the strategy that we developed around that insight? The big idea that came out of that strategy? And then how do we bring it to life? How do we bring the campaign to life? And then how do we do? What were the results? And then I'll kind of leave you with some key learnings at the end. So our target audience at the time, we've since refined it a bit, but at the time, which was last year, we were focused on 25 to 64-year-old leisure travellers, so that's holiday travellers, travelling without children. Now, if you've got children, you know they take all your money. So people travelling without children, they tend to go a bit further. It doesn't mean they don't have children. It means they just travel without them. They tend to go a bit further and do a bit more. And so they're a high yielding traveller. So we wanted more of those people. That's important to us. Our key insight for that target audience was, despite New Zealand being the largest market for visitors to Australia, there was this kind of perceived over-familiarity. Like, I know Australia and it's actually not that exciting. I've been to Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane and the Gold Coast. It's not that exciting. But the thing is, you don't know what you don't know about Australia. Like me, until you get exposed to some of the incredible experiences it has to offer, you don't really know. So that was a key insight for us. And also we needed to make it easy for them to access those experiences. We needed to make it easy for them to kind of chunk them down and get into them so that they would be able to kind of take the next step and actually go. This is sort of common perceptions of Australia that have come out of our research. They're so close. Australia is like the third island, so it's kind of like it's just a domestic part of New Zealand, so it's not really that interesting. It's mainly the east coast of Australia, and I've been there, so I know all about that. Why would I go to Western Australia? If I'm going to travel for that long, I'd go somewhere more exotic. Wow, have you been to Western Australia? It's actually pretty exotic in parts. So these are the kind of perceptions that we have to overcome to change people's thinking about what Australia has to offer. So our strategy was all about surprising, inspiring, which is a key role for us as a tourism organisation, and engaging Kiwis with amazing Australian experiences. And you can see some of them in the imagery in the background, I think. But we also wanted to leverage advocacy to add credibility to what we were doing. We know advocacy is really powerful. It's well known that more than 60% of people travel based on a recommendation from a friend or a colleague. So advocacy is actually key. And we want to make it really easy for them to book. And that came out through research as well. It's like, it's one thing to get me inspired, but make it easy for me to take the next step. Don't leave me hanging. I need to just go and be able to book straight away. And that's why digital is such a great environment for us. So the big idea that came out of that, and it's not a new idea, but it's a good idea for us. The bucket list was the big idea. And what we translated that to be was 100 amazing Australian experiences. And the key for us was that they were created by Kiwis for Kiwis. So it would have been easy for us to take content from Australia, from our head office in Australia, and just present it to Kiwis. But we wanted to make it really relevant. And relevance is really key for everything that you do in marketing. And we needed to make it relevant. And that by Kiwis for Kiwis thing was absolutely essential for us to make this work. So how did we bring the whole thing to life? Well, there were some key building blocks to the campaign to make it really work well. One, we had to use our There's Nothing Like Australia brand proposition. So that meant using the 100 amazing Australian experiences to demonstrate why there is nothing like Australia. Second, we had to have an activation partner or a conversion partner to help us make that easy transition from inspiration through research into the booking phase that people had asked us to make it easy for them. So we got Qantas on board. Qantas is a great partner for us. Not only do they cross the Tasman, which is handy, but they also fly to 50 domestic destinations throughout Australia. So they're a really good partner. We can get people across the Tasman and then to virtually anywhere in Australia with Qantas. We also wanted to engage a media partner that would add value, that would go beyond just a straight media buy and enable our media dollar to go a lot further. So we wanted a media partner for that reason. But we also wanted a partner that would enable us to put content in front of Kiwis where they were already looking for that kind of content. So that led us to a digitally led, fully integrated partnership with Fairfax Media. We did go beyond the digital, and that was key for us, but it was digitally led. So does anyone think of a reason, can anyone think of a reason why we would choose Fairfax Media for this campaign as a partner? Anyone? Thank you, person from Fairfax, that's right. Stuff Travel is actually the top travel site in New Zealand. So they fulfilled that idea that we had, that we wanted to serve up content where people were already looking for content, and content about travel in particular. The other reason is that Fairfax, through their wider portfolio, connects with, in our case, 62% of our target audience that was looking to travel in the next 12 months. So hugely relevant media partner for us. And the other reason is that they actually added a huge amount of value throughout the process. So the journey that we went on, we developed the content first and foremost. Then we took the customers through a journey of engagement, announcing, which I'll explain, then re-engagement, and then amplification of the content. And it's a kind of 4-stage campaign because it's quite a long campaign. It went from January through to June, so we had to find ways to keep re-engaging Kiwis with the content that was fresh and that was relevant and that would keep them interested throughout the entire campaign. So that first stage of content development, another reason why Fairfax was such a great partner is that we got access to travel writers and editors from the different genres, and they were absolutely key for us to creating content and becoming advocates. We used the travel writers and editors to create short stories about experiences that they had had in Australia that were outside and beyond the gateways, and those experiences, and we sort of matched them up with our desire for them to be at a certain level in terms of amazing Australian experiences. So they created a whole bunch of, 100 in fact, 150-word experiences that were really emotive stories. And those stories lived on in that URL, but inside stuff.co.nz, inside the travel pages in there. And we drove people to that content sitting in there. We also used the stories as emotive hooks to drive people to that content. So they played a really powerful role for us. So the kind of writers that we had Kim Knight from Sunday Magazine, we had Joe McCarroll from New Zealand Gardener, we've got Cameron Williamson from Stuff. The last one's not actually me, it's Angela Walker, who's the editor from Escape. It's the supplement in Sunday Star Times. She doesn't like to be photographed, so that's her picture. But this was a really important part of our process to have advocates, and it really ticked the box for us in terms of advocacy, but also storytelling. And we know that Kiwis love storytelling when it comes to travel. They love to tell stories about their travels, and they love to hear other people's stories. And that's a really great source of inspiration. So this really did the job for us in two ways. So this is kind of how the hub looked. That sort of hub environment, we had a whole lot of experiences with thumbnails, and you clicked on that and you popped up a lightbox window with the bigger image and then the 150-word story. So in the first phase of the customer journey, where we started to engage customers with the content, we had all of those experiences. Well, we didn't actually have all of them. We released them in blocks of 25 over 4 weeks because we wanted reasons to keep going back to our customers and keep engaging with the content. So we have 4 experience pillars, which are nature, journeys, coastal and events. And so each week we released a new experience pillar, 25 each pillar, 4 times 25 is 100. So that's how that worked. And we asked Kiwis to vote on the 100 from the expert list. And so that was the 100 experiences that the travel writers had created. We asked Kiwis to vote on that. And we used those stories. As you can see, that's an example of the print kind of advertorial that we used with the story from the travel writer, great image, and then enticing Kiwis to go and vote. We also used an incentive, and it was a pretty powerful incentive, the opportunity to win a $10,000 trip of your choice to have an amazing Australian experience in Australia. And each time we had a new pillar released, there was a new opportunity to win. So it was a pretty powerful incentive, and it worked. We also drove traffic through DM, so we did postcards. We did EDM, which worked really well. We did digital banners. We did Facebook. We also did a lot of search, which was a key driver for us. If someone shared on Facebook or Twitter, they got an extra entry into the competition, so we did well on the share front too. The next stage of the campaign was, that's how that actually looked from a customer point of view. So you clicked on the light box, and then the Vote Now box popped up. You just clicked on that, enter your details to get into the competition, and you're away. And it was as simple as that. The next phase was the announce phase. So we had all of these votes for all of these experiences, and we wanted to, so we rearranged the list based on experiences as voted by Kiwis. So the list became Amazing Australian Experiences as voted by Kiwis, and so this was our opportunity to announce that list. And so we went out and announced the list, and it gave us a great reason to talk about another lot of experiences and demonstrate the ranking of some of the experiences. And as you can see in the digital, we didn't actually talk about the number 1 experience because we wanted to drag people through. We talked about the number 12 experiences and the number 23 experience and the number 17 experience. And we wanted people to click and find out what number 1 was. So we had to leave some kind of intrigue around it. In phase 3, we wanted to re-engage people with the content. And we did that with a platform and Stuff, the Stuff Daily Quiz. And the Stuff Daily Quiz, if you have used it before, you know it's quite an addictive thing. You answer 15 questions and see how good you are. And we use that platform to ask Kiwis to answer questions about Australia. All the answers were in the stories provided by the travel writers. So it was another great way of engaging people with content. And we did that over a period of 8 weeks. And every 2 weeks we had new questions, new quiz questions, and so new reasons to go out to our database and to go out to our target audience and ask them to re-engage with the content. Okay. In phase 4, we wanted to amplify the content. All of the content had been quite short up till then, purposefully short, so it was easy to engage with. This next stage, we wanted to make it bigger and richer and deeper. And so we used the Sunday magazine and did a flip cover on the back of the Sunday magazine and presented great imagery and also richer content about what to do and with different experiences, where to go and how to get there with Qantas. We also had sort of digital integration through that. So we had an AR code or augmented reality code. So hold your mobile phone over the code that's on the image. It brings the image to life and brings up a video on your mobile device. So we also did a digital version of that same magazine. So online we had a 16-page version and Sunday we had an 8-page version. So this was even richer content. We embedded video inside that content as well to get that engagement. And video is a really powerful thing in travel. Being able to watch a couple of minutes video on an experience gets you kind of to another level of engagement that a story or an image can't always deliver. So how did we do? We did pretty well. We got competition entries in total of 76,000. We had a target of 20,000, so we were kind of blown away by that. Our monthly unique visitors were 351,000, which was over the whole campaign, and that obviously well exceeded our target. We had 22,000 people opting into our database, which I thought was pretty impressive. I was quite surprised about that, but that was a great result. And we had 13,000 Facebook shares. And we had, I think we had a similar number of likes as well. But I always amazed that we get Kiwis to actually like Australia on Facebook. It's a fantastic result. But it wasn't only good for us, it was good for Qantas, our partner, as well. They got a whole lot of leads, 26,000 leads, and they exceeded their revenue target, which was a fantastic result for them. They did a job for us by helping us to get Kiwis to book directly, and we did a job for them by engaging a target audience with them and getting them to fly Qantas. We also had a great kind of value proposition through Fairfax. They delivered a 4.1 to 1 media value. So for every dollar we spent, we got $4.10 in terms of value, which we were really happy with. We thought that was a great result, far better than what we could have bought if we just did a normal media buy, that's for sure. So not only did we want people to do things differently, but we wanted to change perceptions. As I said at the beginning, it was important that we change people's perceptions about Australia. And we had 4 key statements that we wanted to change and improve in research. And these are them. Offers a wide range of diverse experiences for travellers. So after we did the campaign, the results went up by 6%. It's talked about positively by my friends and colleagues. That's that kind of advocacy recommendation piece. So that went up 3%. Has a lot to do for travellers outside the main cities, so 12% increase there, so that was a great result for us. The 100 experiences clearly demonstrated that and has inspiring options available for different holidays, going up 8%. Now all of these are coming off really high bases, so I think we did a great job of actually shifting perceptions with this campaign. Then, did people actually intend to go and travel? It's one thing to change their perceptions. Did they actually intend to go and travel? Yeah, they did. After the campaign, in the next 6 months, they had a greater intention by 5%, and then following that, there was an additional 7% in the next 7 to 24 months. So 12% over the next 2 years intended to travel more to Australia. But this is the best result, I think, in that people actually did travel. In the April to June quarter, our holiday visitor nights went up 5% and our holiday spend went up 7%. And that's a great result for us as a tourism organisation to be able to shift behaviour so quickly, because you can see the intention. A lot of people intended to go, sure, yeah, in the next 2 years. But we actually shifted behaviour quite quickly through this campaign, which was a great result. Okay, so learnings. What did we learn? 1, experience-based content engages. It engages Kiwis, and it's all about relevance. And it's all about having it in the right place at the right time and saying the right message. I mean, that's kind of cliche, but it's actually true. So getting the right content there was really key for us. Making it relevant to Kiwis. As I said, it wasn't just about Australian content. It was about content about Australia that was relevant for Kiwis. It was created by Kiwis. So there's kind of huge relevance connection there. Competitions do increase engagement. They definitely work, and that's probably not news. But I guess the underlying piece behind that is to not get entirely focused on the competition and not kind of let that take over and drive everything that you do, because it's not just about the competition, it's about getting people to the content. That's the kind of bottom line, and getting them to change what they do based on engaging with that content. So the competition's just a tool to actually get people to that content. Keep it simple. We had a little learning experience around the quiz, in that we started off wanting to do 25 questions in each of the 4 quizzes that we did, because we wanted 100 questions, 100 experiences, 100 questions, and we thought the most people who answered the most questions right, they would be our kind of winner of the competition. But soon into that, we realised that 25 questions was way too much of a barrier for people. It was too hard, and so we got a lot of dropouts. So we pulled that back to 15 questions, which I think is the stuff standard. Correct me if I'm wrong, people from Fairfax. And it just made it that you had to get 5 right to be able to enter the competition, and that changed everything. So it's all about keeping it simple, keeping it familiar. EDMs still work. I think someone said this morning, can't remember who it was, in one of the earlier presentations, that EDMs are like, so yesterday, it's all about this stuff and social media. And then, look, that's true. But EDMs, if you've got a good database and you're presenting relevant content and the right messages, EDMs still work. We got huge lifts in our engagement and huge lifts in our traffic every time we sent out an EDM. So EDMs are definitely key, and I really encourage you to build your databases and make your content relevant from an EDM perspective. Integration still works. Now that sounds cliche, but it's not all about digital. It's all about what you do entirely through your marketing campaign. We were really successful in integrating print and digital and driving people from print environment to a digital environment, and that worked really well for us. So integration is definitely key still. The power of advocacy. As I said at the beginning, advocacy was a key objective for us, and those advocates did a really great job. Jo McCarroll, who's the editor of New Zealand Gardener, one of her experiences was, what's the name of it? In Victoria, there's some gardens in Victoria, and the name's just gone out of my mind at the moment. And we nearly didn't include the experience in the list, because we were like, oh, surely not going to visit some gardens, that can't be it. But it actually came out as our 4th most popular experience in the Amazing 100. And I reckon it was through Jo McCarroll's advocacy that actually drove that, because she's got such a great connection with her readers in New Zealand Gardener magazine. Power of partnerships. The bottom line is we're a partnership marketing organisation. We partnered with Qantas, we partnered with Fairfax in this campaign, and they did a really great job for us. And through those partnerships, we were able to extend the power of this campaign significantly, way beyond what we could have achieved by ourselves. So partnerships are absolutely key.